When Kody Brown leans forward and whispers something that no one was supposed to hear, the courtroom goes completely silent. Then, in real time, everything the family has worked for decades starts to fall apart. This isn't just a divorce fight anymore. It's a war over money, loyalty, and a secret so big that it could ruin every relationship in the room. And at the end of this story, one question will change everything. Who was really telling the truth the whole time? The air in the courtroom feels heavier than it should. It's not just the heat or the people whispering behind folded hands in tight rows. It's the stress. A lot. Choking. The kind that stays in your chest and won't go away. Christine Brown is in the middle of it all, with her hands tightly clasped and her knuckles pale. She is looking straight ahead. She doesn't look at Kody Brown. Not even once. That alone is enough to make people nervous. Because she had always looked at him for years. Always. The judge moves some papers around and the soft sound is louder than it should be in the quiet room. A bailiff clears his throat. A chair creaks in the back. And then, Kody Brown, you can now take the stand. There is a change. Not obvious, but strong. Kody slowly gets up and fixes his jacket as if he's getting ready for something much bigger than a court hearing. His face is calm, but not controlled. There is something behind his eyes that is not still. Something that protects. Janelle Brown watches him closely as he walks forward, her lips pressed together. Meri Brown never looks anyone in the eye. And Robyn Brown, it looks like Robyn is going to cry. But she doesn't. Not yet. Kody puts his hand on the stand, swears an oath, and then sits down. As he moves the microphone, it makes a crackling sound that is loud enough to turn a few heads. Please say your name for the record. Kody. Slowly, with a purpose. Mr. Brown, we're here today to talk about money problems, who owns what property, and accusations of emotional abuse in your family. Do you get that? A break. Not long. But not too long, yes. The word doesn't mean anything. And that's how the story starts to unfold. The first few questions are easy to guess. Names, dates, confirmations of the timeline, safe area. But the room doesn't calm down. Because everyone knows this is just the tip of the iceberg. The lawyer stops walking around. Turns. Looks Kody in the eye. Let's talk about the Flagstaff property. A flash. It goes quickly, not very visible. But Christine sees. Janelle sees. The judge sees it too. Kody leans back a little and crosses one leg over the other. A defensive stance that looks like confidence. What do you think? How about ownership? Another break. This time, it's longer. It was an investment we all made. Divided equally? Yes. The lawyer tilts his head. Are you sure about that? Something changes again. Kody's jaw gets tight. Christine finally moves across the room, but only a little bit. This shows that she is paying more attention now. Because this part is important, more than anything else. The lawyer walks over to the table, picks up a piece of paper, and holds it up. This paper says otherwise. Be quiet. Not the usual kind. The heavy kind. The kind that is bad. Kody doesn't talk. He doesn't have to. His face says it all. That's when the first ripple hits the room. A soft murmur, hardly audible, but getting louder. It wasn't meant for anyone to see what's on that paper. Christine's breathing changes. Janelle leans in. Meri finally looks up. And Robyn. Robyn shuts her eyes. For just a second. Like she already knows what's going to happen next. Mr. Brown, the lawyer says in a calm voice, isn't it true that a large part of this property was transferred under a separate agreement that left out some members of your family? The words are hanging there, pointy. Not forgiving. Kody lets out a slow breath, and for the first time since he sat down, he thinks about it. He opens his mouth, halt, shuts it again. The judge is now watching very closely. Mr. Brown, you have sworn to tell the truth. Kody nods his head. I don't remember the details. A mistake. A big one. because the lawyer is happy, not kindly, but on purpose. Then maybe this will help you remember. He puts the paper in front of the judge, and all of a sudden, the mood in the courtroom changes from tense to explode. This isn't just about money anymore. It's about who wasn't there, who was told a lie, and who knew the truth the whole time. Christine finally looks away and looks Kody right in the eye. For the first time. And the look in her eyes, it's not sad, it's not mixed up, it's something much more powerful, something much more dangerous. It's understanding. The judge moves his glasses around and looks carefully at the paper. The quiet goes on and on, for a longer time. Longer. Until Mr. Brown, he looks up. This document seems to go against what you said. And just like that, the cracks in the foundation. Kody moves around in his seat. And for the first time, he doesn't seem sure. Not on the defensive. Not sure. Not sure. And Robyn finally loses her cool across the room. A tear runs down her face. She wipes it off quickly, but it's too late. Everyone notices it. And now the question isn't just what happened, it's why. What was the reason for this? Who was it supposed to keep safe? And most importantly, who was it supposed to hurt? The lawyer moves forward. Mr. Brown, I have one more question. Kody slowly looks up. Now I'm tired. In a corner. Did you or did you not agree to a private financial deal that kept Christine Brown from owning anything? The room stops moving. Christine doesn't move at all, doesn't blink, doesn't respond. She just sits there. Kody looks straight ahead. And then, very softly, cut to quiet. Because he has to finish first, a voice cuts in. Objection. Everyone looks. It's Robyn. Standing, shaking, but still determined. And at that moment, everything is different. The word objection doesn't just echo, it slices through the courtroom like a blade, forcing every eye onto Robyn Brown, who now stands trembling but unyielding, her hands clenched tightly, as if holding herself together is the only thing stopping everything from collapsing completely and for a brief second. Even the judge looks surprised because this wasn't expected. Not from her, not like this, and Kody Brown turns sharply in his seat. His expression flashing with something between panic and disbelief as he whispers under his breath, Robyn, don't. But she doesn't sit down. She doesn't back away. Instead, she takes a shaky breath and speaks again, louder this time. That question is misleading. And now the tension thickens, because this is no longer just a legal battle. It's becoming personal. Dangerously personal, and across the room, Christine Brown watches with a stillness that feels almost unnatural. Her face unreadable, but her eyes sharp, locked on to Robyn like she's seeing her clearly for the first time. While Janelle Brown shifts in her seat, crossing her arms slowly, her posture signaling something deeper, skepticism, maybe even betrayal, and the judge finally raises his hand, restoring order, asking Robyn to clarify her objection, and for a moment she hesitates, her confidence flickering, but then she says it. There are details missing from that agreement, and that single sentence lands harder than anything before it, because now it's obvious there's more to this story, much more, and Kody's silence only confirms it. His jaw tightening as he looks straight ahead, refusing to meet anyone's gaze, and just when it seems like the truth is about to come out, it becomes painfully clear that someone is still trying to control how much is revealed. The lawyer pauses, studying Robyn carefully before responding. Then perhaps you'd like to share those details with the court, and suddenly the pressure shifts entirely onto her. The room waiting, watching, judging, and for a split second, it looks like she might actually speak like. She might reveal everything, but then her eyes flick toward Kody, and something changes, something silent but powerful, a hesitation rooted in loyalty or fear, and she slowly lowers herself back into her seat, whispering no further statement, and just like that, the moment slips away. But the damage is already done. because now everyone knows there's something hidden beneath the surface, something deliberately kept out of sight, and the lawyer turns back to Kody with renewed focus, his tone sharper now, more precise. "Mr. Brown, let me ask you again, did you sign that agreement?" This time, there is no escape, no break, just the weight of the question pressing down on him as the seconds stretch uncomfortably long. Kody finally exhales, rubs his hands together, and answers, "Yes." But it wasn't what it looks like. The reaction is immediate. Christine's lips part slightly. Janelle shakes her head almost imperceptibly. And Meri, who has been quiet until now, leans forward with a look that feels like years of unspoken words gathering all at once. When the truth finally starts to come out, it doesn't come gently, it hits with the force of everything that has been buried for too long. The lawyer doesn't miss a beat and steps closer, saying, "Then explain what it was," and Kody's composure starts to crack, just slightly. His voice loses that earlier confidence as he says, "It was a precaution," and that word hangs there, confusing and unsettling, prompting the immediate follow-up, "A precaution against what? Instability," he finally says, and that word lands like a spark in a room full of gas. Christine lets out a small, shocked laugh that cuts through the silence. "Instability? You mean me?" she says again, her voice steady but full of something deeper, something that hurts and makes her angry at the same time. And suddenly the courtroom isn't just a courtroom anymore, it's a battlefield of emotions that have been building for years. Kody turns to her, his face defensive. "That's not what I said," but Christine doesn't look convinced, not even close. Now Janelle leans forward fully, her voice calm but firm. "Then what exactly did you mean, Kody?" And now he's surrounded, not legally, but emotionally, every word he said unraveling faster than he can control, and for the first time it feels like he's losing the narrative completely, and once control slips in a moment like this, it rarely ever comes back the same way again. The judge calls for order again, but the shift has already happened, the balance of power in the room tilting in a way no one can ignore, and as Kody sits there trying to gather himself, one thing becomes painfully obvious. This isn't just about documents or agreements anymore, it's about trust that's been broken, alliances that are falling apart, and truths that are finally being dragged into the light, whether anyone is ready for them or not. And just as the lawyer prepares to press further, he glances down at another file, flipping it open slowly, deliberately, before looking back up with a quiet intensity that sends a ripple of unease through the room, because whatever is in that file is something no one here is prepared to hear, and the way he says the next words makes it clear that this is only the beginning, not the end. The moment the lawyer opens that file, something changes again. This time it's deeper and heavier, like the air knows that what comes next will hurt more than anything said so far. Kody Brown can feel it too. His shoulders tighten and his eyes narrow slightly, as if he's getting ready for impact. Christine Brown, on the other hand, sits unnervingly still across the room, her earlier reaction gone, replaced by a quiet, watchful focus that feels much more powerful. The lawyer doesn't rush, he lets the silence stretch just enough to make everyone lean in before he speaks. "Brown, you said this agreement was a way to protect against instability," he says, looking at the document for a moment. "But what if I told you this wasn't the only agreement?" And that single question lands like a shockwave, subtle but devastating, because now confusion ripples across every face. Janelle Brown frowns, Meri Brown stiffens, and Robyn Brown looks down instantly, as if she already knows exactly what's about to surface, and Kody's reaction is immediate too. Quick to hide, "That's not relevant," he snaps, but the lawyer doesn't flinch. Instead, stepping forward with a calm intensity that makes the room feel smaller, tighter. "Oh, it's very relevant," he replies, placing another document on the stand, sliding it forward just enough for the judge to see. because this one tells a very different story, and just when it seems like the truth has limits, a new layer emerges that makes everything before it feel incomplete. The judge adjusts his glasses again, scanning carefully, and the longer he reads, the more his expression changes, not dramatically, but enough to signal that whatever is written there matters, and Kody notices it, his composure cracking further as he leans forward slightly. That document is being taken out of context, he insists. But there's an edge to his voice now. Something strained, something uncertain, and the lawyer turns his attention fully toward him. Then help us understand the context, he says, his tone almost inviting. But beneath it is something sharper, something relentless, and for a moment Kody says nothing, his silence stretching just a little too long, just enough to make the tension unbearable. And then finally he exhales, running a hand through his hair. It was temporary, he mutters, and that word triggers something immediate in Christine, her eyes narrowing slightly as she tilts her head. Temporary? Temporary for how long? She repeats quietly, but the meaning behind it is anything but soft. Now everyone in the room is paying attention to every word, every glance, and every change in tone. It's becoming clear that this isn't just about one decision, it's about a pattern of choices that were never fully explained or shared. Until things settled, Kody says finally, and that answer only makes things worse. Janelle lets out a quiet, almost disbelieving breath and shakes her head slightly as she looks down. Sometimes the explanations hurt more than the secrets themselves, especially when they don't explain anything at all. Meri finally speaks, her voice low but steady, cutting through the tension in a way that feels almost unexpected. And who decided when things were settled? And that question lands differently, more personal, more direct, forcing Kody to look at her, really look at her, for the first time since this began, and for a split second there's something there, regret, maybe, or something close to it, but it disappears just as quickly as he answers, I did. And that's it. That's the moment something unspoken finally becomes clear to everyone in the room, the realization settling in like a weight that can't be ignored anymore. Because this was never shared control, never equal decision-making, it was something else entirely. Something far more one-sided, and Christine leans back slightly now, crossing her arms as if putting a barrier between herself and everything she's hearing, her expression no longer searching for answers, but absorbing them, processing them, and the lawyer steps back for just a moment, letting the silence breathe. Letting the weight of Kody's words settle into every corner of the room before he delivers the next blow. Mr. Brown, isn't it also true that the second agreement has terms that directly benefit one person more than the others? And now the tension rises again, sharper than before, because everyone already knows where this is going even before the name is said, and slowly, almost reluctantly, the lawyer turns his gaze toward Robyn, and in that instant all eyes follow and Robyn freezes, her breath catching as if the entire room just closed in on her at once. And when attention shifts this suddenly, it doesn't just expose the truth, it forces someone to carry it in front of everyone. Kody reacts immediately. That's not fair, he says, his voice rising slightly, but it's too late. The implication is already there. Already understood, and the judge looks up again, more serious now. Mr. Brown, answer the question. And the silence that follows feels endless, stretching far beyond the walls of the courtroom, because this isn't just another answer. It's the answer that could redefine everything that's been said so far, and Kody sits there, caught between defending himself and revealing something that might be impossible to take back, his eyes flicking briefly toward Robyn, who still hasn't moved, hasn't spoken, hasn't even looked up. And then slowly, almost painfully, he begins to speak. It wasn't about benefiting anyone, he says, but his voice lacks conviction now. The strength from earlier completely gone. It was about protecting what we had, and that statement hangs there, heavy and incomplete, because no one in that room believes it fully anymore. Not after everything that's been revealed, not after everything that's still being uncovered. And as the lawyer opens his mouth to respond, to push further, to dig deeper into whatever is still hidden in that file, the courtroom doors suddenly creak open, the sound loud enough to break the moment completely, and every head turns instinctively toward the entrance. Because whoever just walked in wasn't supposed to be there, and the look on their face makes one thing instantly clear. This story isn't just about to continue, it's about to explode in a way no one saw coming. The courtroom door doesn't just open, it interrupts everything, pulling every ounce of attention away from Kody Brown and toward the unexpected figure standing at the entrance, slightly out of breath, eyes scanning the room with urgency, and for a moment, no one speaks, because no one understands what's happening. But the tension shifts instantly from controlled confrontation to something far more unpredictable. And the judge leans forward, clearly irritated, asking sharply for identification, yet before the bailiff can even step in, the person takes a few steps forward and says, "I have." Evidence that changes this entire case, and those words land like a shockwave, freezing the room in place. Because this isn't just disruption, it's escalation. And Kody Brown instinctively straightens, her eyes narrowing with a mix of curiosity and guarded hope, while Janelle Brown exchanges a quick glance with Meri Brown, both of them sensing that whatever is about to unfold could finally answer questions they've carried for years. And Robyn Brown, she goes completely still, her face draining of color as if she already recognizes the direction this is heading. And just when the courtroom seems like it has reached its limit, a new truth steps in and raises the stakes even higher. The judge signals for order, demanding to know why this evidence wasn't presented earlier, but the tension doesn't ease, it builds, because the newcomer's voice shakes slightly as they explain. "I was told not to come forward, but I can't stay silent anymore," and that sentence alone sends a ripple through the room. Because now this isn't just about hidden agreements, it's about suppression, about something intentionally kept buried, and Kody's reaction is immediate. His posture stiffening as he leans forward, his voice sharper than before. "This is ridiculous," he says. But there's something underneath it now, something closer to fear than anger, and the lawyer, sensing the shift, doesn't hesitate, stepping toward the judge and requesting permission to review the new evidence. And after a brief pause that feels far longer than it is, the judge nods, allowing it, and suddenly all focus shifts again, this time onto a single envelope being handed over, its contents unknown but already heavy with implication. Because sometimes the most dangerous moments aren't loud, they're quiet. Waiting for the exact second to reveal everything, the lawyer opens it carefully, scanning the first page, and whatever he sees changes his expression instantly, the calm confidence replaced with something more intense, more deliberate, as he looks up slowly, his eyes locking. "On to Kody, Mr. Brown," he says quietly. "Would you like to explain these transfers?" And just like that, the room tightens again, because that one word, transfers, hits differently than anything before, suggesting movement, intention, secrecy, and Kody doesn't respond immediately, his mind clearly racing, his composure slipping in ways he can no longer hide, and across the room. Kody leans forward slightly, her earlier restraint fading as anticipation takes over, while Janelle's gaze sharpens, her skepticism now fully awakened, and Meri watches with a quiet intensity that feels almost like validation, as if pieces are finally falling into place. And when the story starts connecting like this, it stops being about accusations and starts becoming undeniable, the lawyer continues, holding up the document just enough for the judge to see. "These records indicate multiple financial transfers made without disclosure to all parties involved," he explains, his tone measured but firm, and the impact is immediate. Kody exhales sharply, shaking her head almost in disbelief. "You said everything was shared," she says, her voice steady but carrying an unmistakable edge, and Kody turns toward her quickly. It was more complicated than that, he insists. But even he doesn't sound convinced anymore, and Robyn finally moves, shifting in her seat as if the weight of the moment has become too much to bear, her hands trembling slightly as she grips the edge of the bench, because when secrets start surfacing this fast, even the people who tried to protect them begin to feel the pressure crack through. The judge leans forward again, his patience thinning. "Mr. Brown, you need to answer clearly," he says. "Now there's no way to avoid the truth. It's just waiting to be revealed or avoided." Kody takes a deep breath and closes his eyes for a moment, as if looking for the right words. But when he opens them again, something is different. Not confidence, not control, but exhaustion. "Those transfers were necessary," he says finally, his voice lower and quieter now, "to maintain stability." That word again, stability, echoes in a way that feels almost empty now, because no one in that room believes it the same way anymore, not after everything that's been revealed. Christine lets out a soft, almost bitter laugh. "Stability for who?" she asks, and the question hangs there heavier than any accusation, because it cuts straight to the core of everything that's been unfolding, and for a moment Kody doesn't answer, can't answer, because the truth behind that question is far more complicated than anything he's willing to admit. And the silence that follows feels endless, stretching across every person in the room as they wait, watching, knowing that whatever comes next could finally break everything wide open. And just as the lawyer steps forward again, ready to push even further, he glances back down at the document. Flipping to the final page, his expression shifting once more into something sharper, more focused, before he looks up and says, "There's one more detail you haven't mentioned," and the way he says it sends a chill through the entire courtroom, because it's clear now, this isn't the full story yet, not even close, and whatever that final detail is, it's about to change everything in a way no one is prepared for. The moment the lawyer says one more detail, the entire courtroom feels like it collectively holds its breath, because everyone has now learned that each final detail so far has only led to something worse, something deeper, something far more personal than anyone expected. And Kody Brown slowly lifts his head, his expression no longer defensive in the same way, but tired, like he's running out of ways to explain what's been happening around him. While across the room, Christine Brown sits forward slightly now, her earlier anger replaced by a sharper focus, a readiness to finally hear what has been kept just out of reach for so long. And Janelle Brown doesn't move at all, her calm exterior now masking something more intense underneath, as if she's preparing for confirmation rather than surprise, while Robyn Brown looks like she's holding her breath too long, her fingers gripping tightly as the lawyer turns the final page and begins to read. And what he says next doesn't come with emotion, just precision. These documents also show a pattern of communication between financial advisors and a single point of authorization, and that phrase lands strangely in the room, because it doesn't immediately sound explosive, but it is. And the lawyer continues, meaning decisions were not collectively made, but routed through one central approval source, and now the meaning hits everyone at once, because this isn't just about money anymore, it's about control. And when control becomes centralized, trust is no longer shared, it is assigned, and that changes everything. The judge leans forward again, visibly more serious now, asking for clarification, and the lawyer obliges in simpler terms, "Your Honor, one person was approving financial decisions on behalf of the entire family structure without full disclosure," and the courtroom reacts instantly, small murmurs breaking the silence before being shut down by the bailiff, and Christine exhales slowly, almost like she's been waiting years just to hear it said out loud. "So we never had a say," she says. Quietly, not even really asking anymore, just confirming the reality she already felt, and Kody turns toward her immediately. "That's not accurate," he says quickly. But his voice lacks its earlier firmness, and Christine finally looks directly at him again. Fully this time, no hesitation then. Who was making the decisions for me, Kody? Was it the same person every time? She asks, and that question hangs heavier than anything else before it. There is no easy answer, no legal language that can soften it, and before Kody can answer, the lawyer says yes, and that simple answer hits harder than anything else in the room so far, because it takes away all doubt and justification and leaves only structure, one that no one agreed to, and when systems of control are exposed, the emotional fallout is always bigger than the legal one. Robyn finally speaks, her voice shaky but controlled. That wasn't how it was supposed to be, she says, but even as she says it, she seems unsure of what's supposed to be even means anymore, and Kody looks at her quickly, a flash of something passing between them. Understanding, maybe, or realization that they are now both standing on the same exposed ground, and the lawyer doesn't pause, because there is still more. There is also evidence of withheld communications regarding ownership restructuring, he continues, and now Meri finally reacts visibly, sitting up straighter, her voice quiet but firm. Ownership restructuring of what? Of shared assets, he says, and the words land like a final weight settling into place. Shared assets means everything they built together, everything they thought they understood about their own lives, and now Christine shakes her head slowly, almost in disbelief. So while we thought we were part of everything, we weren't, she says softly, and this time no one corrects her immediately, because the silence that follows feels like agreement, or worse, confirmation. Kody finally speaks again, his voice quieter now, less controlled. It wasn't meant to exclude anyone, he says, but even he seems to realize how hollow that sounds now, and the lawyer looks up from the file, his tone changing slightly, more pointed. Intent is not what is in question anymore, Mr. Brown. Action is, and that distinction lands heavily, because it removes emotion from the equation and leaves only consequence, and for the first time Kody doesn't respond right away. Just stares down at the table as if trying to find the version of events where this makes sense, but the longer he stays silent, the clearer it becomes that there may not be one, and Christine slowly sits back, her expression shifting, not to relief, not to anger, but to something more final, like acceptance mixed with resolve, while Janelle glances briefly toward her, sharing a moment of unspoken understanding. And Robyn wipes her cheek quickly before anyone can focus on it too long, but the emotion is already visible, already part of the record of the room. Because when truth reaches this stage, it doesn't just expose actions, it reshapes relationships in real time, and the judge finally speaks again. His voice firm, calling for order, while acknowledging the seriousness of what has been revealed, and the lawyer closes the file slightly, pausing just long enough for the weight of everything to settle before saying, Your Honor, this concludes the initial financial disclosure contradictions, but the way he says initial makes it clear this is far from over, and as the judge begins to respond, a faint knock sounds again at the courtroom door, subtle but unmistakable, and every head slowly turns once more, because after everything that has already been revealed, the idea that there could still be more is almost unthinkable, yet somehow entirely believable now, and Kody lifts his head again slowly, his expression unreadable, as the door handle turns once more from the outside, and whatever is about to enter next feels like it might finally end the silence for good.